Hello and welcome to Three Kitchens, a home cooking podcast. My name is Erin Walker, and I am co-hosting this episode with Sarah Somasundaram.
Hello.
And Heather Dyer.
Hi.
And today we are talking camping and cooking over campfire.
Going camping.
We're going camping.
We are camping May long weekend in Alberta, which is the notorious weekend of it
Regrets.
Is currently what, 26? It's 26 degrees and it will be snowing and below zero by the time we go camping. I am convinced because this is May in Calgary.
That's what happens
in Alberta.
Yeah, you take your chances. It'll be fun no matter the weather.
Also, it's our first camping of the season. I don't know. Have you guys been out yet?
No.
Nope.
No? Okay. So I kind of feel always a little thrown off by the first of the year because it's a lot of stuff to remember and bring. And so I'm a person that keeps all my little lists and all my little books. How do you guys plan for camping?
Because we normally take our trailer, but this time we're all staying in trappers tents, which will be fun, but it's kind of roughing it for me because I won't have my usual stocked trailer with my nice bed with my duvet and
refrigerator,
and my bathroom,
and kitchen.
My two kitchens, my indoor kitchen and my outdoor kitchen.
Stop! You're just bragging now.
Yes, we know how wonderful your life is, and my children are like, "Why can't we have a trailer like them?"
Oh, sure.
What do you mean, your children? Talk about me. That's what I say every time. I want a trailer.
We're all moving out of our comfort zone, I guess.
And we just go camping once a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Lucky for us, you indulge us and camp with us once a year.
I do like camping. I know you guys always making fun of me saying, "Oh, Sarah, I guess, okay." So I'm a city person, guys. I am not for roughing it, but I do like camping because I do like cooking outside. I love it. That's my favorite part.
You can't go camping and kind of fly by the seat of your pants. I know this because that's my typical nature, but you cannot do that when you camp because there's too many things to forget that might be really important.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I have my list on Google Docs. So
nice.
Every year I just refer to it.
Nice.
Well, we're going to do a meal together.
And if we're going camping, then the book that we're going to be reading out of is going to be 7 Fires because we're cooking with fire.
Yeah.
We have gone through and we've got some meals planned out of it.
Before we start with the recipes, why don't you let our listeners know about Francis Mallmann? If you have watched him on some cooking shows, he really likes to
cook over the fire. He's a chef from Argentina.
Specializes in fire.
Yeah. And they cook in a lot of fire.
If that is something that's common in Argentina, would you then describe Francis Mallmann as someone who sort of even takes that to another level?
Definitely, because he takes it out into the forest and he explores a lot of what the indigenous people of Argentina, where the cooking with fire comes from. I think that's really cool how he pays homage to, this is Argentine cooking from Argentine people.
It's almost like a traditional way that he's bringing it back and he's really celebrating that. So, and then he puts it in this cookbook and gives us some ideas of how to do that ourselves.
We are talking cooking over the fire using some recipes from the great Francis Mallmann. And Sarah, you have chosen a chicken recipe.
Yeah.
Out of the cookbook. Would you like to start with that?
Yeah. So as long as you can tell me how to pronounce this. So it's chicken chimayuen. And I found this really interesting. So first of all, the picture in this book looks amazing. And all the ingredients look amazing, which is chicken, salt, lemon, rosemary, garlic, virgin olive oil, something called lemon confit that we're going to talk in a bit, and then a oil sauce.
So I'm really excited to see you go after these.
Yeah. So, I always fillet my chicken. I think we all do it the same way. We take the spine out and then we sort of crack the breast plate and we sort of lay it down flat, right? Is that how you do it?
Is it called butterfly?
Yeah, butterflying or spatchcocking.
I've heard it as
chicken.
spatchcocking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I have always done it. Isn't that how you guys do it?
Yeah.
Or
I
do
don't
you do
think
it?
I've ever actually spatchcocked a chicken.
Oh,
I chop up all my chickens all the time and use all the pieces,
right.
but I
Right,
don't think
right.
I've ever actually taken a
Okay.
whole chicken and cooked it spatchcock style.
Okay.
And I've only done it a couple times. I usually
Okay.
just cook it the whole bird.
Okay. I don't. I usually spatchcock all my roast chickens because it cooks up faster and it browns up nicer for me, at least for me, right? So, but this is the funny thing. In his recipe, in his episode, I was about to say, he says use some kitchen shears and split the chicken down the breastbone, and then open it out flat. So he does it the opposite way, and I find that quite interesting. And this might just be because he wants to utilize the entire bird.
Right. Well, this way the back stays on rather than having it snipped out.
Taken out. Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Then you season the chicken with salt, lemon, rosemary, and garlic. And I love the way he does this garlic into a paste and then just rub everything under the skin, which is something I do.
Yes.
And then you set it aside. And he talks about putting it on a cast iron grill pan, but we're going to do it on the fire. So I'm really excited about this because I feel like everything that's going into this chicken is tasty enough. Now we're going to have that nice smoky fire going around it, and that's going to even deepen that flavor.
Because the fire pit, I think, is going to get crowded fast. I think what we can do is we'll set this out directly beside the fire pit and shovel the coals from the pit underneath of our grill as we need to maintain that heat. And I'm also going to bring a pan to cover it in case it's windy, to help regulate that temperature a bit better around the meat. When we do put the chicken on our grill, we'll want it nice and smoking hot.
Yeah.
We'll kind of want to heat that area up and then pop our chicken on.
And I will have charcoal as well if we want to use that.
Cool.
That might help keep the heat, and then we can just add maybe wood coals with it. I don't know. We can figure that out.
So he does talk about placing the chicken skin side up on the heated grill, and you cook it until it browns. So I take it, it's the inside of the chicken that's going to brown up.
Oh,
right. And then let that cook through. And then at the end, you want to turn it around and you want that skin to crisp and brown up.
Yeah.
And the chicken to cook through for 10 to 15 minutes longer.
Nice.
So it'll be interesting to see how fast this happens, because it is chicken in the end. And I think chicken cooks fast, but it's got bones in it. So this is going to be interesting. I'm really interested to see how chicken cooks split the other way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we're not done, guys, for flavor.
Oh, no.
You cut this chicken up into serving pieces and you sprinkle it with, so let's talk about the sauce first, because that's easy. It's got parsley, garlic, olive oil, salt, and pepper. And it's called the parsley, olive oil, and garlic sauce.
Sounds good.
Pretty simple, right? So you add it all together, and then, it says the sauce can be refrigerated for up to 4 days, but I take it the longer it kind of sits, it'll be more flavorful.
Oh, yum, yeah.
But then you want to put this lemon confit into the mix of this recipe. Yes. And this is what is very interesting. So the lemon confit that he speaks about, it's got lemons, bay leaves, black peppercorns, olive oil, dry white wine. Of course, it had wine in it.
Of course.
Salt.
Yeah.
And so you cut the lemons in half, you squeeze the juice out of it, you put it in a saucepan, you add your peppercorns and bay leaves, and then you boil these lemons over medium-low heat for about 25 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Then you remove the lemons from the heat, and you're separating that lemon. So you just want the outer layer of this lemon, because I think the inside part of it is bitter, right? So you want to carefully make sure that there's none of that white stuff on these lemon strips that you're going to now start peeling off this lemon, which I'm like, how much time is this going to take? But I'm willing to do it.
So you're getting like a purified, concentrated zest.
Yeah. In strips.
It's like a
from the inside
zest.
out.
It's like a
poached zest strips.
Yeah. But
Whoa.
it's confit, which sounds, listen, with a French name, it's going to be something a little bit complicated.
Totally,
okay? Let's
totally.
just.
Once you even like strip that lemon peel off, he says, get like a kind of a sharp knife and make sure you scrape every bit of that white part of the lemon peel off. Let me try my best, guys. It might be a little bitter if I lose patience.
It'll be good no matter what. I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
And then you put these strips of lemon zest in a container and you cover it completely with olive oil.
How long can those last for? Does it say?
It does. In the refrigerator for a week.
Oh,
so that sounds interesting to me. Yeah, I'm excited to do it for the first time. I mean, it depends how much work that takes. I might just zest it next time if I really like this, right?
Which would be fine too.
I'm sure it would taste
great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm excited about this. And I'm really glad that you spatchcock chickens, Sarah, and you know all about that because
but not his way, but I
no,
do it
but
all the time.
you're used to cooking one that's flattened out. I don't think I've ever cooked it like that.
It just browns up.
It just cooks faster.
Yeah.
Like your technique is not different really, aside from flattening it out. Right? Wouldn't you say?
But I think the result is different.
Yes, the result is different.
Because it roasts up. Like, how the bottom of it, if you don't spatchcock chicken, like the bottom of it doesn't roast up the same way as the top.
Mm-hmm. You don't get the nice crispy skin on the, Yeah,
that's the difference.
Yes.
And
I think this is going to do really well over the fire.
I'm really, really excited about the flavors. That's my total motivation here. I'm very excited. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to prep the chicken, but you're really going to take the reins on the cooking, right? Because I have never.
We're all going to be doing it together.
I want to help.
We're all doing it together. We're all going to be in there. With it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I want to be part of it, but I'm definitely, you're leading this.
No. I feel like the best part of this is you never just like put it in the oven and walk away when you're at a fire, right? You always have to be like keeping your eye on the coals and feeling the temperature and adjusting the levels and lid on, lid off. Heather, you are taking on these roasted veggies.
I've made roasted veggies with salt preserved lemons from a previous episode. And I have this wonderful cast iron camping Dutch oven. It's a big, heavy Dutch oven with a lid. And there's different ways you can cook with it, but the only way I've used it so far is where you have charcoal briquettes, you put some underneath the pot and you put some on the lid on the top of the pot, and it creates an oven because the heat's coming from the top and the bottom. And the number of briquettes will determine your temperature, essentially. Okay. Although I don't think it's an exact science. Right. I'm going to say it's going to depend a lot on the weather, your environment. I don't know. I think it probably varies, although I do have a rough guide and I'm like, we'll guess. But it's usually about, say, 10 to 15 on the bottom.
Okay.
Or just a big pile of them. Like you kind of just
pop your pot on top.
The number on top is where it kind of varies depending how much more heat you want coming down onto the food.
Right.
But I also just acquired a tripod that hangs the pot over the fire. I think probably for roasted vegetables, I think we'll want the briquettes. I think we'll want that oven. But I was going to just quickly share with you. So the brand of this tripod is called Camp Chef. Okay. And it's all outdoor cooking stuff. And I'm like, it came with a catalog. Yeah, I'm going to look at all this.
Yes.
Awesome stuff. And it's like smokers and barbecues and electric grills and propane stoves.
This could be a bad path to go down.
They've already got my money.
Pizza ovens and grills and griddles and Okay, I don't know if you can see who's on the cover of it. It's just dudes. Okay,
dudes,
men.
Oh,
and all
right. We got to change that.
There is men, even the hands. If all you see is hands, it's like dudes' hands. Like there's one picture of a woman with a little camp stove, and there's one picture of a family, and all the girls are roasting marshmallows.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
And the man looks like he's sort of instructing them on like what to do.
Oh, and I'm like, how you roast it?
Yeah, on a little propane fireplace that they're using. And I just thought, this is false advertising. People are going to think now my husband is going to cook. Like if I buy all these things and go camping or in the backyard, my husband's going to suddenly take up smoking meat and grilling food. And no, that is not
and
the
that's
case.
so not the case.
I just thought I was laughing to myself with all these guys doing all the cooking in here. Like, I know there are plenty of men who grill and smoke meat and do all this stuff, but there's like no woman cooking in this entire catalog.
There are plenty of women who do it too.
It does seem a little bit exclusionary to,
yes,
there is sort of a stereotype that the person on the grill is the man and that it's the man's domain. Okay, so Heather's going to roast these amazing vegetables.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the Dutch oven. We're going to make sure the temperature is good. And then we're going to like leave them there.
Yeah.
For a while to cook.
And what kind of veggies are we going to use? Any ideas?
Sure. I was thinking, root veggies like potatoes and maybe yam, carrots, butternut squash is really good with that lemon.
A little bit of a relief for me because I thought you guys were going to say beets. And I was going to be like, crap, I got to eat beets again.
No. The thing is, because we know you don't like beets tend to sort of permeate the whole thing. When they're mixed with other stuff, everything turns into a purple beet tasting. Yeah. So everything I wouldn't do that to you.
I did do some beets roasted with the lemon though, and it was pretty darn good.
I mean, I like it. I would put beets if it was just us, Erin. We'd probably throw some beets in there, but we know, Sarah, so you're good.
Yay!
We won't throw even a little tiny one in.
No, not even a tiny beet.
Yeah, I've done my part eating a lot of your beet recipes, and I've enjoyed them. I just, they're not my, what do you say, favorite.
Yeah,
you're very polite. Thank you, Sarah, for tolerating us. I am going to take on what they call in Argentina meat. Chicken's not meat. Chicken's chicken, but beef is meat. So we're going to cook something called a skirt steak. I have not yet received the skirt steak from the butcher shop, but they have guaranteed me that I will get a single piece, long and stretched out, somewhere between 2 to 4 pounds is what they usually get. And that's exactly what's called for in his recipe.
Okay.
Nice.
I feel good mojo going into this meat exploration because this one looks scary. Can I just say that?
The picture looks so fun, but at the same time, it's like, ooh, never done that before.
Amazing, but intimidating as fuck. So this long, not too thick steak.
It's thin, pretty thin.
It's a thinner steak. Is how do you describe this, Heather?
It's like threaded onto quite a long stick.
Yes, threaded onto a carved long branch. So a branch that has had its outer bark removed, and it is then supported beside the fire that is cooking. Yeah. It apparently only takes a few minutes per side to cook.
Yes.
Like this whole baby should be done in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Because it's thin and you don't want it too well done or anything.
You want it seared and caramelized on both sides. It's a cooking method called a-la-Vara, and it is indigenous in northeastern Argentina, is what he says. And so it is the perfect cooking method for when you are on a hike or camping.
Okay.
All you need is a knife and a match.
Because you're just carrying 2 pounds of skirt steak in your backpack. Was it in this story or was it in his chef's story show? But where he talks about being like a 6-year-old and going off like hiking and camping, and he and his friend or his cousin or somebody would cook it like that. I'm like I'm thinking of one of my kids.
Yeah, it was in the book.
Yeah. And they threading it and cooking it over a fire and caramelizing it and like, oh my gosh. Yeah. That's crazy.
Okay.
You're good.
So I have trimmed my trees in the backyard. I have some apple trees that I trimmed 2 nice fresh green branches off of. I have debarked them and trimmed them and put them to a point on the end. I'm sitting in my yard carving sticks with my kids is what this essentially
that's all right.
That's turned into. And so I've got 2 because you can't be too prepared is my thought.
Yeah. Good plan.
And so those apple trees will hopefully, they're a thick wood, they're a hardwood. They shouldn't flavor the meat in any bad way. And because they were both green, they should be strong, wet and resistant to being burnt up during this process.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're good for that. His picture shows, because this is just the thing, this is just the chef he is. He's got these 2 sticks that are like a Y-shaped stick. So kind of like a big slingshot that he's got jabbed in the ground that are supporting this huge piece of meat on it.
It's so photogenic.
It is so amazing. We're not going to be that photogenic, ladies. I've got some rebar because we're at a campsite. The ground is going to be hard packed gravel.
Yeah.
So I have got rebar that I'm going to be able to pound into the ground using a hammer. And I'm going to create 2 X's. And we've got wire to tie around.
Nice. Oh, gotcha.
Kind of decide where that cross is to kind of heighten or lower the meat.
Nice.
And we'll suspend it. That is my hope. I'm telling you my goals so that we can laugh at my plans later. That's, the best laid plans.
or it works and it's
amazing, or it works. Anyway,
it sounds like a great plan. I think it's going to work.
I think we can do this.
It's not like it has to be up there for a long time. Like you said, it cooks quickly. So it just has to stay up long enough to cook the steak and then off it comes.
Exactly. And so I think using this rebar is going to work it. It says you want to cook it at even medium heat, but not having any flames touch it. So we need a long line of consistently burning pretty tall logs or coals against this meat for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Burning a hot, consistent fire for 10 minutes is actually kind of a challenge.
Yes. Yeah.
So super intimidated by how that's going to go. But I mean, if nothing else, we're going to have a great story and it's going to look awesome.
Yeah. I don't
Hopefully think it'll taste good too.
Yeah. I don't think you can screw it up. I mean, maybe one piece is a little more cooked than another, we might just get some variety in the doneness,
Exactly.
I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this all sounds so good.
I also think, just to add in at the end, that I can make biscuits at the fire.
Okay.
I sometimes bake on my barbecue, and I find it really easy to bake some of these quick breads that have to be baked at high heat. I'm wondering if I can take some coals and I can line that grill on top with tinfoil and put some coals on top of that grill.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then have coals at the bottom, and then maybe stick the biscuits in between and have like a fire above and below it.
Yes, I've seen that done. I don't know if it was biscuits. It was probably something else cooked kind of in between there, but I've seen that done. It was probably over the fire cooking on Instagram. That guy has some amazing stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows all the techniques. Yeah.
Yeah. It is so mesmerizing. Totally. Yeah.
So we've got all these really intense things to pull off while we cook dinner.
I think it's going to work out, whatever it is. I know with skirt steak, because I cook a lot of skirt steaks, you want it to be quick and you want to sear it. So you don't want to go any past that moment, like a good sear and a quick cook, because the worst that can happen to a skirt steak is it's tough. So what? I mean, if that happens, so we eat some tough meat, right? Like, it's still going to be delicious.
Yeah.
Saturday, guys, big cook-off.
Yay.
I am going to be feasting.
We're having our first Asado as 3 kitchens.
Yeah.
That's right.
Exciting.
So we are going to be the cooks, we are going to take over the fire pit. We're going to do some really fun and exciting things. I'm so pumped about this.
We should take a picture of us and send it to that catalog people. What did you say? What brand did you say? See, it's not just men who do this.
Camp Chef. I love it how they're just standing around, and it's a propane grill, and they're just having a great time and drinking their beer in their solo cups. And they're just, look at them standing there in like the mountains and looking all like they're having a great time. No, not a woman in sight. I'm not sure where the women are, but
they're actually cooking. The women are actually cooking the food
behind the camera.
Because
the women were like, just watch this for a minute while I run to the bathroom, because that's what it ends up. I've been so busy.
Let's take a picture quickly.
And then the guys are like, hey, take my picture. Oh God, so funny.
Come join us around the fire pit.
All right.
Totally.
Cooking over the fire, that's hot. It's very good.
Did you know you can cook bacon over the fire on a kebab skewer? Follow us on our Facebook or Instagram pages at 3 Kitchens Podcast, where we'll be posting and sharing our favorite camping food tips and tricks. See you around the fire.
Fire and food, yum!
We're back. We are a little bit smoky, a little bit damp, and well fed.
Well fed. Yes. It was so good. It was really I think some of the best camping food I've had.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It was a pretty amazing setup.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how well it all disappeared so fast.
So
not
fast
a single leftover in sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took a little longer than we planned, right?
Maybe that's why everyone was so hungry.
But it was good. It was fantastic food.
Yeah.
It was gourmet.
Gourmet. Oh boy.
Let's start with, the chicken prep. So chicken prep was easy. Cracked it open from the breast plate.
Right. Did you use shears or a knife?
I used shears because I didn't want to ruin my knife. So, and then what I did was just to flatten it a little more, because we wanted a good sear on both sides, sort of cracked a couple of joints just to make sure that it laid flat. It was easy. The marinade was so easy. And, as I was making it, I just wanted to eat it raw. It was so delicious.
You mean the chicken or the marinade?
The chicken.
Ew.
It smelled so good with that big bulb of garlic.
Yeah.
All minced up. Instead of the salt and the lemons, guess what I did? I marinated it in salted lemons. The preserved lemons that we keep coming back to.
Of course.
Yep.
So I took a whole bunch of juice and I sort of put it under the skin and I made sure that there was enough. I think it was salted well.
Oh yeah.
And then I wrapped it up in plastic wrap to keep all the juices and marinade in.
Yeah.
And I brought it camping. For the sauces, that parsley sauce that we spoke about, I just threw it into a food processor.
Okay.
Got it all chopped up, easy peasy. And then we talk about the lemon confit.
Yes, I had quite a bit of it. I took big scoopfuls of it.
Yeah, it was good, right?
It was really tasty.
So it was really
I found
tasty.
it was good, but I think it would have been just as good to have zest. I'm not sure that I found it exceptional.
I preferred the parsley, olive oil, and garlic sauce because it had garlic in it. I knew as soon as I made it that was going to be my choice. The lemon confit, it's really interesting. I would try it out if you enjoyed those tastes, right? So you put lemon in water with bay leaves, peppercorns, a little bit of olive oil and white wine, and you bring it to a boil, and then you simmer it for a little while to soften the lemons.
Right.
And you take the lemons out, as we spoke about, and you want to scrape out all that white part of the lemon and sort of keep the zest. This part was not my favorite because the lemons were so oily.
Okay.
Yeah.
And juicy. To remove it was a real mess.
Okay.
And in the end, you yield very little, a very small part of the lemon, right? It's just the zest part that's in strips. And I thought it was really cool, but it didn't blow me away. So I don't know if I'll do it again. I might. But
it looked really nice though. Having those little strips of lemon on that chicken, it looked very cool. I would eat that chicken in a restaurant. That
chicken was restaurant quality. It was
good.
Fantastic. And I would definitely make that chicken again. And I think I would crack the chicken that way from now on because you get to eat the entire chicken.
Yeah. So we set up a grilling stand, like we mentioned, just outside of the fire pit because the fire pit was too small and too tall to really set our chicken in. And so we had to bring the coals out, and I was not prepared for how many coals it was going to take. to heat the ground and the grill and everything so that we could cook that chicken. So it definitely took quite a bit more time. I'd say maybe 30 minutes per side we cooked it. Would that be a reasonable guess?
30 minutes per side plus another 15 minutes. So it took about an hour and 15 minutes to do. But once it started going, once that heat started going, I think it was the initial trying to warm it up because it was quite cold the night before. Trust me, I remember. I was freezing.
It was.
We all remember that.
And so I think it took a while to warm it up, but once it started going, it cooked beautifully.
Yeah, it really did.
And we had that lid on top, like a pan on top to kind of keep the heat in like an oven.
Yeah.
Which I think made a big difference too.
Made a big difference.
Yeah.
And 30 minutes, we flipped it. It was seared and browned on one side. Remember that?
Yeah. And the smell, we'd be walking around the fire and all of a sudden you'd get a waft of the smell. And I think all of us were just stop and be like, oh my
smell
God.
the chicken. You guys come here and smell the chicken.
Smell the chicken.
It's so good.
So good. So after 30 minutes, we flipped it.
Yep. And we put it skin side up first.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we flopped the skin onto the grill when we flipped it.
Right. And then we had to sort of readjust where the coals were placed because I think we had to sort of move it toward the outer edges of the chicken because that wasn't cooking as
the legs looked like they weren't cooking as quickly.
And then when we did, it cooked beautifully. And then we left it on for 15 minutes more. So 45 minutes basically on the other side, just to make sure that the chicken was cooked through. And it was. Yeah. Beautiful. So good.
Yeah.
And then we threw the sauces on and
chopped, drizzled, and devoured.
Devoured. Wow. And it was really tender inside. Did you notice? Tender and juicy inside and seared on top. Oh, so good. I'm going to make this on my barbecue. Absolutely. No question.
I was eating off to the side behind everyone else. Everyone had been served because, that's how it is for the cook, right? Everyone gets served and then you get your stuff.
Yeah.
I had one of the chicken thighs that I was munching into and it was dripping down my chin. I was like a small child. And Heather, your husband, caught me and he said, oh, now I know why you don't eat with the rest of us. You're making a mess of yourself. I could not have manners. I had to just keep
so good. So good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yummy.
And Heather, those vegetables. You had a huge amount of vegetables.
Huge amount.
And they were gone. Like, I don't think there was a carrot left in the pot.
I scraped out some of the bottom stuff at the end.
That's the best part.
Every bit out.
So we started with the veggies because we wanted them to, we thought they would take the longest. And really what we ended up doing was putting the Dutch oven on the coals, the veggies inside, the coals on top, more briquettes on top. And we just left it there while we did the meat. And so I think it was probably an hour and a half.
I would guess.
Like I wasn't really paying attention, but it was a little longer than the chicken because we started them and then we focused on the chicken.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe an hour and a half. And I think I opened it maybe twice to kind of have a peek inside and add a bit more heat to the top.
I realized we didn't heat up the ground when we did that. So I assume a lot of the heat from those coals went into the ground at the beginning, which is why I think they took as long as they did.
Yeah, but it didn't matter. It was perfect because we didn't have to think about them. It was like a crock pot, set it and forget it. We just put it there. And there was a point, I think we added a few more coals around the bottom of it, around the outside, just from the fire. But all that was in there was carrots, yams, those little new potatoes, and a bag of frozen butternut squash.
Yes.
Which was much smaller. So what ends up happening is the squash kind of turns into mash. Like you almost have a mashed squash with the other pieces of veggies, which I think is so good because it's like
it's almost like a soup with vegetables in it.
Almost, but it's not too liquidy. It's like mashed squash with these other veggies. And I put in one whole salted lemon. So, I mean, they're small lemons. I used mainly the inside of the lemon because they hadn't been in the salt for, I think, only like 6 days. And I found the peel felt a bit tough still.
Right.
Probably would have been, given the amount of time in there, it probably would have been fine just to use the whole thing. But I just tossed that in there, maybe like a quarter cup of butter and some pepper, and that's it. And they were perfect.
So
like
good.
So good.
Yeah.
And how did lining the pot work? Because we lined your pot with tin foil and then with parchment and then put all the veggies in. Did that make your cleanup easier? Was it?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. It worked really
good. The pot
good.
had there was a little bit of butter.
Yeah.
Like in the bottom of the pot, but that's okay for cast iron anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just gave it a quick scrub with water and that was it. When it was done, it was so easy. Yeah.
And another thing that I found really cool that I didn't realize until we were at the campsite is your cast iron pot has little feet or little legs on it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't crush your coals. Like it actually sits up a little bit from your coals.
Yeah, it's designed that way. Yeah. If you're going to buy one, make sure it has feet. Yeah.
Find a pot with feet. Yeah.
That was like the easiest thing ever. If you need a big side dish, put it in a Dutch oven and just forget about it.
Two themes that seem to be recurring with the chicken and the veggies. One is warm up the ground. Takes a little longer than you realize, right? So for next time, we'll know this, right? We'll know to start a little earlier.
And a few more coals.
More coals. And
better fire
the second theme is that we just, any excuse to use salted lemons. Like, come on.
Condiment of the year.
Yeah.
It was so good. And our families plus one other family, they were even like, what was in those vegetables? Because I mean, it's so simple. You maybe can't pinpoint what that is.
No.
But it just gives a really nice flavor to it.
Yeah. We're going to be 70 going, oh my God, we're running out of preserved lemons. Let's go to the store and buy more. Do you like my 70-year-old voice?
I like it.
Oh my God.
And then
the steak.
The meat.
Oh yeah, this was fun.
That was really fun.
I ended up getting 2.5 pounds of steak, so it wasn't a huge one. It could have been up to 4 pounds, and I'm really glad it wasn't more.
It was the perfect amount, I think.
Yeah,
especially for the size of the fire.
Yeah.
You know, if it had been any longer, it would have been really hard to manage over that fire pit.
Yeah, I agree. The stick worked fine. We didn't have to worry about the stick breaking at all. It was strong. It held.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rebar, because the fire pits were so tall, like I should have measured how tall those fire pits were, but they were a really challenging fire to keep your coals hot in because there was very little air coming in through the side. Like it had two triangle shaped holes that were maybe like an inch.
They were so, it was ridiculous, really.
It wasn't my favorite. I feel like we ran out of coals. Actually, we did run out of coals because at one point I went over to the other campsite where the other fire was going that the children were around, and I stole coals and brought them over to our site. So we needed more heat. We needed better pit management. And you know, Heather, you brought that wonderful birch wood. And we put that log on, but not soon enough.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed that I didn't get on that sooner. I think I lost track of.
For next time.
We were learning as we were going, right?
Yeah. It wasn't the thing that I realized that was gonna make it or break it. So I felt like a lot of our expectation before we went in terms of the steak was that, it's going to overcook maybe, and we're going to have tough parts. But instead, we had not enough heat. I would say we didn't really get it to caramelize or...
No, it wasn't seared.
But, and it was only really cooked on the outside. Like the inside it was very rare.
Was it? No, it wasn't very rare.
No.
Oh,
I didn't
my
think
pieces
so.
were really rare.
Was it bleeding on your plate?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I had
Mine
some
was
really rare pieces.
Like it was red inside and cooked on the outside, but it wasn't seared. You're right. But I enjoyed it a lot. I like that kind of, maybe that's why I liked it, because I like to eat my steak kind of undercooked. I'm a savage.
We were trying to have it kind of next to the fire over coals, but I think we could have actually had some flame on that to get that sear.
Yeah.
I think we were afraid of having fire touching it, but I think we next time would try that a little bit.
I would definitely try it again, because I would like to see if we can, I think doing all three things was kind of a challenge, but I would like to see if we can, if I could cook another piece of red meat again over the fire like that, because it was very interesting. Really enjoyed that.
Totally.
And then at the very end, with my campfire hands, I made us some biscuits. And those worked out just kind of how I hoped so.
That was cool. I liked
that was
how
really fun.
You put the foil on that little half grill thing that is on the fire pit and then put fire on top of it.
Yes.
And we had coals underneath the pan with the biscuits on, and it created this oven, and it was so cool. Everyone look at the pictures because it really is. Totally. It was really cool, and they were great.
Yeah, they
baked up
good.
quick, and they were yummy. Yeah, totally.
We heated some the next morning. We did have a few biscuits left. And one of the kids didn't get a biscuit because he had filled up on everything else. And so in the morning he was at our fire and he said, "Oh, do you have any more biscuits left?" And I said, "I do." So I heated one up the next morning on the fire and he's like, "Oh, this was so good." So
they were so good.
Yeah.
What a great idea. Yeah.
Everything was delicious. But my favorite thing, and I think I would definitely do this again, even though I love the chicken, that was my favorite. Camping, I'm gonna try making that skirt steak that way. It was so unique. It was just the perfect thing to do for camping. That roast chicken might not be the perfect thing to do for camping. You can do that at home, but that skirt steak was meant for camping. It was meant for the great outdoors kind of deal, right? So totally
it's very
doing that
raw
again.
and rugged, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Francis was right.
Francis was right. You need
Francis
a match.
was right. Listen, just carry your steak.
Yeah.
You're matching your knife, right?
Yep.
I'm carrying skirt steaks with me every time I go out.
It's so good. I've also seen it where, those like a fork that you'd use for wieners or whatever on the fire, and it's two-pronged, long two-pronged fork. And you put it on that so that it's a bit more flat, like stable, and then you can flip it.
Yeah.
Hold it in one hand and kind of flip it. Whereas the single stick, it was almost like you had to have two people because you need to hold it on either side, right?
It didn't balance too great. That was something that would need a little more finessing.
Maybe if you had two sticks or something, like just to stabilize it so it's flatter, you can get the sear on both sides. Yeah. But I mean, it was still
so good.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'll totally do that again too.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you want to do that again because I want to try and play more. And I definitely would say, like, you kind of need a party to do this because you need the people. Like, we were all just buzzing around that fire for quite a while, getting it. Yeah.
Trying to move coals around, adding more wood, checking on the chicken.
I need a glove. Oh, my oven mitts are destroyed, but I don't care. Where's now my tongs? Mitts.
Who's got a fork? Oh, it was so fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
So that's like definitely a camping must have for me now, that skirt steak, and cooking it that way. Must have.
Awesome.
Yep. And less cleanup because you don't have to worry about a grill. You've just got the stick. All you can do is then take it off, cut it up. And if it's just your family, you can do a smaller piece, which is, super quick. And then
smaller pieces.
If you're like me
always
and Sarah,
a big slab of meat.
Just go with the big piece of meat and eat until you can't eat anymore, and then eat a bit more.
Oh, and you could, if you just put the leftovers in your cooler, the next day you've got sandwiches.
That's right.
Yeah.
So out of all four things that we made, the skirt steak, which I'm like just so excited about, was the simplest.
Yeah.
It was extremely simple.
Well, I would argue the veggies are pretty darn simple too.
Yeah.
You just need, if you have the briquettes and you've warmed them up, you can just set it aside.
Yeah. But I suppose I mean simplest in the sense that you didn't really need a big setup. You know what I mean? You didn't need to warm up the pot and you just had the fire going and we were good to go.
Yeah.
But everything was delicious, guys. So thank you.
It is our first of many asados for 3 kids.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Totally.
Oh, also our friend Erin brought us red wine.
Yes.
And I think that was like after we'd been cooking and like so busy for a couple hours, and then you sit down, especially with that steak. I felt like the red wine was like the perfect thing with it. I really enjoyed that little glass of wine I had with it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Such an experience. Do the skirt steak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Try any one of these things while you're camping, while you're at home. All 4 of these worked great.
Yeah. So let's do this in your backyard next time, Erin, so that I don't have to go camping again this year. That's important.
The invitation's open.
If I overindulge, I'll be calling a taxi.
The 2 Erins should totally take a skirt steak in their backpack when they go on their backcountry.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't really feel like being a beacon for bears and other carnivores, so I think I'm going to keep this steak out of my backpack.
The steak. That's true.
But maybe do they have bears in Patagonia? Because then I'll hike all over the place with my skirt steak and not worry about it.
No idea.
I'm going to go visit Francis. Just show up with my skirt steak, my match, and my knife.
Look what I have.
And we'll be instant friends. I promise.
Francis, you got the wine. I got the meat. We're good to go.
All right. Join us next time.
Bye.
And now for the fine print. You can find recipe information and photos on Instagram and Facebook at 3 Kitchens Podcast. Why don't you leave us a comment? Give us ideas for future episodes. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you like and subscribe and follow, all of those things help other people find us.
My favorite camping food was the biscuit.
My favorite was the chicken.